Whoa, there we are. Hey everyone. All right, I'll give you guys a second to get logged back in live with Ross. Hi. Standing in front of the apartment where I lived 10 years ago. This was before I started trading, just before I moved back to Vermont. Moved back in 2008. 2009 actually. Yes, 2009. Then I moved home. And yeah, I lived here when I dropped out of college. That year after I dropped out of college, the next fall, that next winter, I was living down here in this apartment. It's kind of crazy to be back here. I come down to the city from time to time, but it's been, I don't think I've come down here to this street and in front of this building since I moved back home. So, you know, thinking back like 10 years ago, you know, that might have been me walking down the street. That might have been me coming down the stairs to run out to go to the Blockbuster, you know, or go to the grocery store just down the street. And, you know, to think if I could have just like whispered in my ear, me of today to me of then, even just to say, it's gonna be all right. You know, right now, life isn't as good as you might like it to be. At that time, you know, I was a college dropout, you know, I wasn't in a particularly great relationship. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was going through what a lot of people go through in their 20s, which is like, all right, you're out of high school, you're in college, but you don't know what you want to do. Take a break from college, and then it's like the real world. Now what are you going to do? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to get by? And, you know, you got to figure it out pretty quickly. I ended up getting a job at a design firm, architecture and design firm down on 27th Street. And I started riding my bike down there every morning to work, and that was sort of the beginning of me having like a real job. But it was not it wasn't a really good fit for me, and I didn't end up being really happy working there. It was a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. It was a tiny little office with, you know, 10 of us sitting in a little like U shape, and I wasn't making that much money. The rent here at this apartment 10 years ago, it was $1,600 a month for a studio. And I was making $40,000 a year at that design firm. So that was pre-tax. So, you know, after tax was, I don't know, 30-something thousand. And half of that was going to rent. It cost me $100 a week to keep my car parked in the garage. And what I used to do instead of keeping my car in the garage is I would park it in either in Brooklyn or in Queens in front of a friend's house. And then that meant that in the middle of the week, usually on Tuesdays, I'd have to take the subway out to Queens to move my car for street cleaning. So, you know, it'd take 40 minutes to get out there, move my car, hopefully I'd find parking, drive in circles for a while, find a parking spot, and then come back out here. And then if I was going to go back up to Vermont for the weekend, go back out there Friday after work. Some weeks I just, especially in the winter, I would just say, you know what? I'll just take the parking ticket. It's a $50 parking ticket. That's half the price of parking in a garage here. I just have to make sure I pay the parking ticket each week on time so I don't get my car towed. But I did that for a while. just got a parking ticket once a week and dealt with it. One week I went out there and had a flat tire, had to change a tire. So, you know, between the rent, the car, you know, and then, you know, life. I mean, that only left about $250 a week for spending money, you know? I mean, it was like, that wasn't a lot. And, you know, I'm standing here today. Today I made $1,500 trading. Wasn't a great day, but I'm up almost $500,000 this year alone. You know, made millions of dollars, and life is now completely different. I mean, it's completely different in the sense that I don't have the stress of what am I going to do with my life, because I found my passion. I found something that I love and that I'm excited about every single day, which is day trading. And I love teaching. You know, I love everything that I do. On Monday, this last Monday, I worked 14 hours. I was in my office for 14 hours. I got there at right around 8 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't leave until about 10:30 at night. And as I was driving home and looking at the clock, I was like, you know what? When you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And it's so true. I love what I do. I was teaching students from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock, and I love it. I mean, it's just, it feels good. And even back in those days, I was doing a little bit of teaching. I was teaching summer ceramics classes, and that was a lot of fun, working with kids. So, you know, I think when I was in college, during my first year, I was going to school. Hey, bud. Hi. I was going to school. Hiya. Hi. It's okay. Hi, mister. Hi. You're so cute. There he goes. That's a cute dog. Even when I was in college, my first year, I went to school for ceramics, and I was trying to get a certification to be a teacher. I was going to school in New Hampshire, so New Hampshire State, licensing to be a school teacher. And I didn't really think that I was going to be a school teacher, but I just figured that's at least making the most of an art degree. At least if I have an art degree, get me certification to be a teacher, so it's not total waste. So that's what I was doing. And during the summers, I was teaching ceramics at a little pottery studio. But, then things really kind of, fell apart for me. I've had a couple times in my life where I was on a really good path and things were going good, and then, things sort of fell apart. And that first time things fell apart, or that first time in that phase of my life, it came back to my anxieties and my worries, and this part of me that has just always been there and made it too difficult for me to go to class and to be around people. And it seems now like what would have been so hard about that, but at the time I couldn't do it. And so I dropped out of school and moved home, and that's when my dad, who hadn't been super healthy for a while, was diagnosed with cancer. And over the next 2 years, I just watched him age. I mean, it was just so fast. Every day you saw him get older and older, and and then he died, and he was 61 years old. And at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was going back and forth between living here in this apartment and going up to Vermont to be with him. I had no direction. And for those of you that are in that place now, maybe I can say to you that there is another side of it. You will get through it. And it's really hard to picture it right now, I'm sure, but it's just all you got to do is find what you love. And it might take you 10 years to find it, might take you 5 years to find it, whatever. But when you find it, hold on to it and don't let go, because that's the thing that's going to get you motivated to get up every day. And just the reality is, if you love what you do, you're going to put in lots of time trying to, make it your thing, and you'll find success. Even if it is something, it might not even be something that you might think is you're going to make money on. I mean, it could be, just look at, Etsy.com and all the shops that people have doing crazy things like, crocheting hats for dogs, and they've made a business out of it. You'd never think it's possible, but they did. So, it's been a crazy 10 years. So finally, when I kind of got back on a good path, after about a year after my dad passed away, I got that job working in the city. And I went to community college and I finished my degree. I started a degree and I finished it. And so, ended up getting my 4-year degree. I'm going to start walking again because it's cold, but there's the old apartment. Let's see, how am I going to do this? So, I got that job at the design studio. And at that point, I was like, wow, this is my thing. I love it. I'd always been interested in design. I was really into architecture. And so I was like, this is perfect. This is what I always wanted. But then after, about a year of working there, those anxieties started to creep back in. And I found it more and more and more difficult to go to work every day. And I eventually got to a place where I was like, I can't do this. This isn't the life I want to live. I don't want to work in an office every day. I don't want to have a boss looking over my shoulder every day. I think that was what was causing me the most pressure, was my boss looking over my shoulder every day. So I moved back up to Vermont and, was like, all right, time to start over. Got to find a job. And I ended up being fortunate that I was able to work for the guy that I'd been working for here in New York remotely for almost another year and a half, which was awesome because it allowed me to keep making some money. That guy's got a sick Subaru. You see the Subaru with the reindeer antlers? Probably gonna hear it go by in a second. Oh, there it is. Whoa. Those are 4 of the meanest cylinders you've ever seen. But, so anyways, when I was back up in Vermont, that's when I started trying to figure out, what was I going to do? What was my day-to-day? What was going to be my new passion? And it took a while, but, as things started to get tighter and tighter on money, I had this memory of my friend, Ben, who I talk about all the time, who made $16,000 day trading a penny stock when we were in high school. And he bought a Nissan Pathfinder. He bought a big screen TV for his bedroom, surround sound, the whole thing. And he works now in Washington, D.C. He's got a regular job. But, at the time it was like, wow, that's huge. And so when I was thinking about that in my, around 24, 25, I was like, you know what? If he could do that when we were 17, I can do that. And it was right around that time that I got an inheritance from my dad. Had to wait until my sister's 18th birthday, and then I got that. And so I used that as my starting point, that money. I bought a little farmhouse in Vermont, and I set out to learn how to day trade. And I started by trading penny stocks. And I lost money, lost like 15 grand instantly. And then I switched gears and started trading stocks like Apple. And I wasn't able to make money on Apple. And eventually I found my way to patterns like bull flags and flat top breakouts. And I realized the stocks that respect them the most are between, $3 and $10. And that's what I've been trading ever since. So it's definitely been a journey. But, here I am on the other side. And, since I figured it out, since I had that turning point, things have been pretty solid. I haven't had like another one of those kind of like retracements of like success that I kept having where, I'm doing well and then I'm not doing as well. Things have been pretty good. I think the only area that has been hard for me even still, is, the public speaking stuff, which, fortunately, I only do when I schedule it for myself, and then anytime I schedule it, I'm like, why did you do that? This was just so stupid. You get nervous about it. So the last one I did was in Orlando. It was about 120 people or so, and it was a good workshop. I mean, it was really good, and I did pretty well, I think. But that's the area now where I got an opportunity or an invitation to go speak at my. I don't think it'll let me turn sideways. If I turn it sideways, it says orientation is locked. Rotate device backwards. I don't know. But I got an opportunity to speak at the one of the schools that I went to, and it's like, just kind of prefer not to. That's probably the one area that I still struggle a little bit, and there'll be other people out there that are much more like gregarious and willing to, be public speakers and everything else. And that's not my thing, but that's okay. I'm also kind of at an age where I'm like, maybe I've got some quirks, I like what I like, don't like what I don't like, and I don't really need to change that. It's kind of okay with me, it's not holding me back too much. And if I just keep kind of doing my little thing, trading each morning, I can live a pretty good life doing this. So that's kind of, where I'm at now. But 10 years ago, when I was walking around here, it was a very different story. Check out that color of that BMW. Same color as that jacket.
Finally,
I was gonna say something about the choice of color, but you know what? It's not that bad. It's nice.
so finally.
All right. This place is still here. Japanese. The big losses? Yeah, I had a couple big losses. The biggest loss was $30,000. Yeah, that sucked. That was a tough one. That was at a time where I thought I was finally getting it and I was doing better. And then, I had a setback. But I broke my rules. And, even today, if I break my rules, it wouldn't be unthinkable to have that kind of loss. So it's just the way it goes. Yeah, that RGSC loss, that one, it was around 9 or 10 grand or whatever, but that wasn't that bad, really. Because at that point, like if I had that kind of loss today, it would be disappointing. But now I've got the confidence of I've been doing this for so long that any big loss is just sort of an anomaly. So I'm just not worried about it. It's like, I'll bounce back. But anyways, let's see, looking at the time, it's about 4 o'clock. Yeah, 4 o'clock. My battery's getting a little low, so I think I'm gonna go get a couple things done. But yeah, just wanted to come on here and say what's up. Talk a little bit about my journey over the last 10 years. And I'll see you guys back in the chat room, hopefully tomorrow, or if not tomorrow, on Monday. All right, everyone. I'll see you guys later.